All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this training seminar. Today, we're going to talk about how to increase your net worth. Okay. We're going to talk about the bulletproof magic 6 is what I call to create your net worth and really help achieve your financial goals. But here's the thing. All right. Before I get into all that, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. If you don't know me, my name is Augustino Pintus. I'm with Bulletproof Cash Flow. We've been at this whole multifamily game for well over 5 years at this point. And we originally started off doing just multifamily acquisition. Started off doing small deals, started doing your regular duplexes, fourplexes, started getting bigger and bigger. And now we have about 1,600 units throughout Cleveland, Ohio. And now we also focus primarily on development these days. A lot of development projects, grounded development. We're doing redevelopment of historical properties as well. And we're doing a fund to acquire single tenant net lease. All right. The single tenant net lease assets are like Walgreens, Dollar General, CVS, stuff like that, right? Corporate backed guaranteed leases. So we have these 3 different types of assets, 3 different types of return targets, 3 different types of deals. Okay. And each one of these deals are different. But the cool thing about all 3 of these is that every time we buy an asset, it improves the net worth, my net worth, it improves the net worth of myself, improves the net worth of all of our investors that are in on these deals too, right? So what we're trying to do, obviously, is create net worth. So let's define what net worth is first and foremost, okay? Net worth is the value of the assets they have minus the liabilities, and whatever you have left is what you owe, right? It's minus liabilities, what you owe, right? So that's what you have, right? But then you also have, what is your ownership in that asset? What is the ownership in that asset? So if you have $1 million property and you own 10% of that asset, it's $100,000. Okay, great. But if you have a lot of liability, obviously it's going to offset that net worth. The cool thing about it, though, is that when you have net worth, you have ownership of a property, right? Even if it's 10%, 20%, 5%, 1%, doesn't matter. Yeah, every time you buy into one of these deals, you get net worth. That's the cool thing about it, and that's why, as again, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about how to build up these types of assets to get you more net worth over time. Okay. And again, talking about the magic 6, what I call the magic 6, to help really offset some of the expenses, some of the depreciation, using some of the depreciation to help increase your overall cash flow too. So I think what's most alarming these days is that most Americans say, most Americans want to be considered wealthy, right? So in the US in 2021, you need to have a net worth of nearly 2 million to be what considered as wealthy. Your net worth has to be nearly $2 million. That's $2 million, right? So most people don't have that kind of net worth these days, unfortunately. They just don't, right? So you have to work very hard to get to that number, right? And this is according to Schwab's 2021 Modern Wealth Survey. That's where that data comes from, right? And wealth is important if you're going to build something sustainable for yourself and sustainable for your kids down the road, if you have any right now. The thing is, though, is that building that net worth today is going to help improve your life down the road. That's ultimately why you're doing this, right? It's why you're doing this, because the last thing you want to be is you don't want to be 60 years old and having to rely on other people to let you survive, right? You never want to rely on the kindness of strangers, as Warren Buffett puts it. You don't want to rely on the kindness of strangers to help you really live your life the way you want to live your life. So let's talk about the bulletproof magic 6, all right, to create net worth. So the first thing, number 1, you have to make a decision to build net worth. That's the very first step. You have to decide that you actually want to do this. Now, in our coaching program, before we talk about buildings and we talk about financing and raising money and all that stuff, we talk about target. Target is first and foremost. We have to have the target. Okay. So you have to decide whether it's going to be $1 million, 10 million, 100 million, whatever it's going to be. It has to be defined, documented, put up on a whiteboard somewhere. You have to be able to keep it in front of you at all times set those goals and follow through to stay focused on those goals, right? The way that I do it is I use a vision board, right? I create a vision board, I draw, and I put it out. And the way that I think about it is, as I put out the vision board, just a blank, giant blank cardboard, and I think about if there was no limit on time, no limit on money, what would I want my life to be like? Now, if you went in with that attitude, not just how it is today, put that aside for a second. What sort of future would you want if there were no training wheels, if there was no limit? What sort of future would you want? And when you remove any type of barriers, you're going to find that, and you let your imagination run wild, you're going to find that you're going to come up with all kinds of stuff that you'd never even thought of before, right? That's the real cool thing about it. So, for instance, like at one point when I was working on my vision board, I wanted to buy a plane. I don't know where it came from. I wanted to buy a plane and fly a plane, right? And learn how to fly a plane. So I started looking in the magazine, started cutting all that out and pasting all that in. Because I want to buy an airplane, all right? I want to buy a jet. And so it's like I started chopping all that, putting it out there. I knew that I wanted to get in better physical health. I wanted to be in better physical condition. So what did? I started cutting out pictures like Arnold and Sylvester Stallone, some of these older guys. These guys are in their 70s now, and they're in great shape, great physical condition for their age. I want to be, when I become an old dude, I want to be able to still walk around and enjoy my life, right? I put that down as a thing, right? So what you're doing is by establishing that goal up front, okay, you are putting it into focus. And what it does is it opens up your reticular activating system. I've talked about it here before. The reticular activating system is a powerful, powerful thing. Everyone's got one. It's all up here, okay? And what it does is, if you repeat yourself over and over and over again about certain things that you want to see happen in your life, your reticular activating system starts looking for the opportunities. It's kind of like if you ever wanted a certain type of car, okay? There was a time when I wanted a Corvette. Like I wanted a Corvette, a Grand Sport, right? And what I did was, this is back in 2014, I started cutting it out and doing the same sort of thing. And I forgot about that. But my mind keeps looking for, every time I see a Corvette, I spot it, I see it. And then next thing you know, I brought it into my life. The same thing happens with money. The same thing happens with opportunity. That's why the importance of establishing the goal of where you want to go is absolutely paramount. Absolutely paramount. It's a fundamental foundation. It's a foundation of where you want to see your life, because net worth, everything that goes on top of that, matters. So by defining what your vision is for your life is first and foremost. So maybe we'll do a webinar on how to do that. If you do want to see a webinar on how to do that, let me know in the comments, or just send over a message. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're streaming on Facebook, we're everywhere right now. So if you want to see a webinar on how to create goal setting, let me know. Okay, we'll do one on that, because I think that first and foremost, among everything, setting the goal is absolutely critical to seeing your life come into fruition, the life that you want to happen, the life that you want to see occur for you. So that's the first place it has to happen. So that's number one. Number two, collect assets, not expenses, not liabilities. Okay, so this is where a lot of people, myself included, early on, I messed up. And how did I mess up? I started buying single family homes. I bought a single family home to live in. Okay, I was buying a house to live in. Well, doesn't that increase net worth? Yeah, it does, but it also costs you money at the same time, right? What do I mean by that? Well, you got to fix the roof, you got to mow the lawn, you got to shovel the snow, you got to maintain the lawn, the flowers, all that stuff. Housing requires maintenance. You have to fix a heating system, HVAC, whatever. All right. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about cash flowing assets. I'm talking about real estate. businesses, partnerships in other businesses even, right? These are all assets that can produce steady cash flow. They appreciate in value over time, and it leads to an increase in net worth. Now, again, I don't want to turn this into single family versus multifamily scenario, but single families don't necessarily do that. They don't necessarily do that. Single family does serve a place in terms of building net worth, but it's a little different because in the single family space, in the single family world, that asset, that single family asset that you're thinking about right now, maybe that one, the value is dependent on the assets around it. Okay, so if this property sells for $100,000 and this property sells for $100,000, your property is going to sell for $100,000, depending on fit and finish and condition of certain things, generally speaking. Okay, multifamily is completely different. Multifamily, the value of a multifamily is decided by revenue generation. How much cash does this asset produce? That's what it's based off of. It's based like a business. Okay, because it is a business. That's why. So that's why when I say put your money into cash producing assets, that's how you do it. So, I mean, the thing is, though, put your money into assets that produce cash, that produce value, and don't put it into things that don't go up in value. And what do I mean by that? Like, listen, I love fancy clothes. I like doing all that stuff, but maybe right now for you, it's not a good time to do it. You know, maybe it's buying things that don't really add any value to your life. You know, it's anything and everything that is just for fun, just for show. Eating a super expensive food when you're still working a 9-to-5 job, right? It doesn't make sense to do that. It doesn't go up in value. Food doesn't go up in value. Do you really need to have fancy food right now? Probably not, right? If you're talking about building net worth and you're that focused on it, the way I am, for instance, any money that comes in goes straight into the business. That's what I do. I plow it all into the business. All of it goes into the business. So that's what I mean is you put it into businesses. I put it into assets that produce value. All right. So, and again, we're going to talk a little bit more about real estate and depreciation and appreciation. But the point is, put any and all available cash into assets that produce revenue and stay away from any type of liability that does not produce value, right? That's basically it. So number 3, increase earnings to increase investments. So I never gamble with money. I barely even go to, I don't even go to the casino, right? And when I do, I'll go because some friends insist that we go. Fine, whatever. You know, I don't gamble, right? I don't even like gambling with my money. I don't gamble with any money, right? I just don't do that. And again, nothing wrong with that. It's fine. You know, it's good to have fun once in a while. It's okay, right? The thing is, though, is that I'm looking to invest in assets that appreciate, like I said before, right? And looking for assets that increase cash flow. And again, the cash flow is what helps create net worth. As I said before, when I was talking about that multifamily asset, the value is defined by how much cash flow that asset generates. The value is defined by how much cash flow that asset generates. So if you have an asset that 100-unit apartment building that produces $1 million in revenue, okay, great. But then you go in, you make it better. You put in trash valet. You put in some pet rent. You put in some dry cleaner valet too, maybe, or some sort of dry cleaning thing. So you add value to the people that live there, you know, so they don't have to leave the house anymore to get the dry cleaning, and you charge them for it. So now that $1 million of NOI becomes 1.1 million the following year. You've increased value. So by increasing value, that property is now worth more money. You just increase your net worth accordingly, because the revenue it generates is how that asset is valued, right? That's the cool thing about it, right? That's again why when you have a multifamily asset, it's a great way to create net worth. Okay. So one way to increase earnings is, like I said before, you know, by becoming either an active participant in a deal, or by investing with someone that knows what they're talking about and is always looking for building sources of income, maybe through rent increases. I mean, rents, hey, listen, everybody here knows that rents have gone up tremendously over the past 7, 8, 9 months here. And it's really a result of what happened the 2 years prior to that, right? The 2 years prior, we had massive amounts of spending. We had massive inflation coming in. Whenever inflation goes up, the rents go up accordingly. And we're seeing some of that now, right? So if you would have bought assets back then, I mean, there's assets that we bought. We paid like 30, 35,000 a door. The same assets are probably worth almost over 60 at this point, some of them, right? Phenomenal time to buy. It was a phenomenal time to buy back then. Right. And we didn't plan it, obviously, but it turned out to be a very good way. So that's what I'm saying is like now that value has increased, right? Because we go in and increase the rents. And now what happened? And anybody that owns a part of that deal, everyone's net worth went up, including our limited partners, the partners that brought in the cash. Their net worth went up as well. Right. So it's a phenomenal way to do it. Number 4, don't lose money ever. All right, don't ever lose money, right? This is Warren Buffett's old rule, right? Rule number 1, don't lose money. And rule number 2, follow rule number 1. Okay, never lose money. And what I mean is that become cautious with money. Do your due diligence when you're investing in a deal. I think that's super, super important right now. I mean, we're living in a world today where there's a lot of information out there, a lot of bogus information, a lot of crazy ideas. Prior to me doing real estate, I was in technology management. I used to run large enterprise IT, and we had some smart folks working for us at these various companies. We created some really exceptional technologies that at the time no one had ever seen before. It was phenomenal stuff. Here's the thing. It requires a great deal of expertise. It also requires, though, a leap of faith, right? Meaning, if you're creating a new piece of software, for instance, I created this software that would this is going back 10 years now. I created the software that what it would do is it would encrypt your voice, video, and text communication. This is before WhatsApp. This is before all that stuff. I created it. It worked. It was phenomenal. It worked very, very well. It was super. Problem is, getting anybody to invest in that deal was very hard to find. It was very hard to do, right? Very hard to do. Why? Because it's unproven. The cool thing about real estate is that it's proven. I'm in a building right now. This building was built in, I think in the late 90s. I'm in this building. It's been here ever since. It's been paying the person who owns this asset. They've been getting rent every single month for the past 30 years, right? It's a no-brainer. It works, right? The deal works. So they're not going to lose any money on this deal, right? And you as an investor, if you're making decisions on whether you're going to invest in a project or not, you have to, it's now more than ever, making the decision as to what you're going to invest in is super important. What are you going to invest in, right? Are you going to invest in some new rock climbing idea where there's already 3 other rock climbing gyms in the area? Or are you going to invest in an asset that's been there for 100 years and it's been producing cash for the last 100 years, and chances are it'll be there for 100 years more? It's very hard to argue when you have that going for you versus some idea that may or may not work. I don't know. I kind of like that idea, right? And at the same time, too, what we're also doing within net lease business, for instance, that net lease business is phenomenal too. Why? Because that has a corporate guarantee, right? Any deals that we do, we own the real estate, and the lease is guaranteed by the tenant that's living in that space, right? That's operating that business. So again, it makes for a very, very stable, very predictable type of return, right? You don't lose money doing deals like that. And that's the key. Don't lose money. Protect yourself from losing cash. Do the research, do your due diligence, understand what it is you're getting into. And again, these days, because of where we are in the economic cycle, real estate is a great place to be at. It was always a great place to be regardless, but now more than ever, I think that real estate is still a great place it's a good store of value to put in this cash that's losing value every single day into an asset that produces revenue, right? Super important, okay? Number 5, increase your tax write-off investments and make strategic purchases, right? So what does that mean? Well, the cool thing about real estate, the real estate that we do anyway, is they have accelerated depreciation. Well, what is accelerated depreciation? What do you mean by that? Well, what I mean is that you're able to depreciate the value of an asset over a fast amount of time, offsetting your overall income. So that means your taxable income goes lower. You're able to keep more cash and invest it, right? So meaning that when you have an asset, say you invest in an asset as a limited partner, you invest in an asset as a limited partner, and we do our depreciation method. And when we depreciate certain parts of the property, certain parts of the building, you get a paper loss, and you report it on your tax return. So what does that mean, that paper loss? That means you lost money on that deal. Paper loss, right? You lost money. That becomes an offset to your income. So that means you're paying less taxes because you lost money, right? It's a phenomenal way, totally legal, nothing illegal about this. No smoke and mirrors here. Anybody who's in real estate will tell you about how this stuff works, right? And really, you should talk to your CPA about your specific scenario if you're listening to me about this, right? The point is that using accelerated depreciation, you're able to, again, hold on to more of your cash and invest it and deploy it in deals and assets that you want to invest in. Really, really cool stuff, right? And again, when I was working in corporate many, many, many years ago, I had no idea this stuff even existed. It's phenomenal way to help offset. If you're a high income earner, it's a phenomenal way for you to hang on to more cash instead of giving it up in taxes, giving it up to Uncle Sam, who's going to spend it irresponsibly. Hang on to that cash, guys. Hang on to it all. Save it all and invest it in the deals that you want to do, okay? And I mentioned strategic purchases. What does that mean? Well, listen, if you buy I put it this way, I ordered a Cybertruck, all right? The Cybertruck, God, I think that weighs over a ton or something like that, right? I think there's a certain size, I think it's 4 tons, I believe is what it is actually. And if you buy a truck that exceeds a certain weight limit, it gets the tax write-off on that asset becomes greater, right? So I'm not saying everybody go out and buy trucks, right? But what I am saying is that there are other strategic purchases that you can make to help offset your taxes. All right, that's what I'm talking about doing. You can also, one other thing you can do is also create a business, create an LLC. Again, totally legal to do this. Create an LLC, a consulting business or something like that, that will allow you to write off certain expenses as well. That's another thing you can do as well. Again, I'm not offering tax advice here. Again, talk to your CPA, talk to your lawyer, ask them specifically about how to do this kind of stuff. But by going into, say, some sort of multi-level marketing type scenario, they actually assist you in doing all that stuff. And you know what? You want to set up an LLC, you want to try to get that business to work for you, great. May or may not work, but it's okay. You get the write-offs. The write-offs is really what you're looking for to help offset your income tax, right? And when you offset your income tax, you keep more of that cash, you deploy it on things that you really want to do. All right, that's ultimately what it comes down to. Okay, so that's number 5. Okay, so what's number 6? All right, number 6 is to change the quality of the people in your life. Okay, number 6 is probably one of the most important aspects because it's if you hang out with the wrong people, they can really drag you down. And that's why what I always have done is try to spend as much time as I can with great friends, with great people that have the same focus as I do, that want to see change, positive change in their life. They're not negative Nancy's. They're not like always, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Blah blah blah. Nobody wants to be around that. And if you're like that, you got to change that. Change that in yourself, right? I want to be surrounded with big thinkers. I want to be surrounded with people that want to chase down $100 million deals. I want to be around people that want to go after that $1 billion mark. That's what I'm going after. right? They can influence your mindset, and they'll also influence your approach to finances as well. Again, this is tied to the very first thing I talked about. This ties to the very first thing that I talked about. Okay. The mindset is where everything begins and ends. If your mindset is messed up, the chances of you succeeding becomes extremely difficult. All this, guys, all money is mindset. That's all it is. It's how big can you expand your mind, and how big can you expand your reticular activating system to start looking for the opportunities, and then allowing those opportunities to come to you, and then studying and training yourself to how to get those opportunities, right? There's a big deal I'm looking at right now. It's a huge deal. And I want to try to figure out how I'm going to close this deal. But I want to close it in a way that only my partner and I will get to hang on to this deal, right? With no other investors. I'm going to try to figure that out. Can I do it? Don't know, right? But if there's a way to do it, I'll figure it out, right? It's like when you get something like that, it excites you, right? The big deals are exciting, right? And that's the thing. I want to be around people like that. My partners are the same way. And I'd highly suggest that if you're not around those sorts of people, get new friends. I did. Sorry if you're my friend out there, guys. I'm not ignoring all my friends. I'm not saying to just dump all your friends or anything else like that either, right? I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is get around the right people that have the right mindset when it comes to money. You want to be surrounded with success-minded individuals that are going to inspire and motivate you to achieve your goals, especially your financial goals. Okay. Now, one thing that we do is we have a multifamily accelerator, for instance. Here's another for instance, right? We have a multifamily accelerator, and we do we have an actual group, and you can chime in this group. And these are people that are probably just like you right now. These are people that are hungry for success. They want to see success. Those are the sorts of people you want to be hanging out with. Those are the sorts of people that will support you when you need help, right? Those are the sorts of people that will help influence your mindset, and they're gonna help greatly achieve your financial goals, right? The same way you're going to help them. You want to be around those sorts of folks, right? That's ultimately what you need to do. And the biggest change in my life happened when I removed myself from the 9 to 5 scenario and put myself in a scenario where I was now running this business, doing this multifamily thing, and connecting with the right folks, the big dreamers that want to see great things happen. That's only time. And that's why with again, going back to the accelerator thing, you can read all the books you want. You can go to all the RIA meetings, you can do all that stuff. But until you get around the right people, it's going to be difficult to really get to where you want to go, right? Because this business, like any other business for that matter, it's all built through partnerships. It's all built through working with other folks, sharing a common vision, and having everybody pull that same direction to get that deal done. That's ultimately how it works, right? And if you're trying to do this by yourself, it's extremely difficult to do, right? So not impossible, it's just very difficult. And ultimately there's no need, it's like, hey, listen, don't ever get greedy when you're doing your deals. I don't get greedy when I do my deals at all. I'm a true believer in supporting other folks and helping my partners up. I'm cheering my partners on in the same way that they cheer me on, right? And that's why getting around the right people, it matters. It really does, right? So anyway, so there's a 6 bulletproof magic 6 that you need to create wealth. Okay, make a decision, collect those assets, generate earnings, avoid losses, take advantage of tax write-offs, and surround yourself with success-minded individuals. If you do want to surround yourself with success-minded individuals, like I said, there's a multifamily accelerator. If you're interested in that, go ahead and message me the word bulletproof, and we'll get around to we'll reach out to you. Okay. Another way you can do it is, listen, if all you have right now at your disposal is the RIAs, and I'm not downplaying RIA either, the Real Estate Investor Association, it's a national group, good people there. You could do that. We sometimes do live events. We're going to be doing one in the next couple of months here in Cleveland, right? We're going to start doing more of those when things warm up a little bit. Start attending live events and always lead with value. When you're talking to individuals, always lead with value. And what I mean by that is don't make it about you. Make it about the other person first. Put their needs ahead of yours for just a minute. See what they need and offer help to solve their problem. If you can offer help to solve their problem ahead of your problem, they will eventually help you out. They will. All right. It's worked for me every single time. That's how, when I first got started, that's how I do it. And I still do that to this very, very day. I still do the same thing. I support my partners before I support myself. All right. Always. And when you do that, the doors will open up. People notice. They notice. Okay. So take a look at these steps. We're going to have this recording back up on YouTube probably the next, I don't know, couple of hours, something like that. So if you want to watch it again, feel free to watch it again. All right. I hope you got some good value out of this. Okay. And again, if you have any questions, you're interested in the accelerator, interested in learning more about that, DM me the word bulletproof. Well, someone will reach out to you, and would love to have you into the group. Okay. Because ultimately, my goal is to help other people just like you achieve your financial goals. And that's the thing. When I did all this, I did it all on my own. It was extremely difficult to do, but I did it. And I was very fortunate that I got to lean on my experience in corporate America. I was very fortunate in that regard because not many people have that exposure, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. It was extremely difficult. If you do it properly, if you do it the right way, you can achieve the same success too. Okay. Building the net worth right now, especially if you're a young guy out there, young girl that wants to see success happen in their life, check out the accelerator. Okay. I think it's going to be great for you if you join it up. All right. So that's all I got for you. Again, you want to reach out, hit me with bulletproof, and someone will reach out to you. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. All right. Take care.